Hello students, this is Mrs. Sonal Patil. In our earlier class, we have studied about the general characters of algae, classification of algae, and also we have studied about the economic importance of algae. Today, we will study about bryophytes. Bryo means moss, phyton is the plant. So bryophytes are regarded as amphibians of plant kingdom. There are about 960 genera and 24,000 species of bryophytes. They are photosynthetic, chiefly terrestrial, non-vascular plants that reproduce by spores. They are called as non-vascular plants because they do not contain vascular tissues, namely xylem and phloem. And also they are known as amphibians of plant kingdom because these plants live in moist soil but they require water for sexual reproduction. So very important question for 1 mark can be asked. Bryophytes are called as amphibians of plant kingdom. The plant body of bryophytes is called thallus. Now thallus, because the word thallus is used here because the plant body cannot be differentiated into true root, stem and leaves, and because of which the word thallus has been used here. And the thallus here may be prostrate or erect and it is attached to the substratum. They have root-like structures called rhizoids. So rhizoids are present by means of which they are attached to the substratum. So the image here shown is of Markantia. This is the male plant and this is the female plant. Rhizoids are shown beneath. Okay, so here they are, by means of the rhizoids, they are attached to the substratum. The predominant plant body of bryophyte is haploid gametophyte. So the predominant plant body is haploid gametophyte here, which will produce gametes. The gametophyte has male sex organ called antheridia and female sex organ called archegonia. So male sex organ is called as antheridia and the female is called as archegonia. Antheridia produce biflagellate anthrozoids, which are the male gametes, and archegonia produce a single non-motile egg. The anthrozoids are released into water where they come in contact with archegonium. Later, anthrozoid fuses with the egg to produce diploid zygote. So this is the way how the fertilization occurs. So even this image is of Markantia. You can see here in the male plant there is anthiridiophore which is bearing the antheridia. Archegoniophore, the stalk is called as archegoniophore. Here also the stalk is called as anthridiophore which is bearing antheridia. Archegoniophore is bearing the archegonia. So these were the male and the female reproductive structures. The zygote develops into a diploid sporophyte that is differentiated into basal foot, elongated seta and a bulbous capsule. So again here the zygote is developed. It develops into a diploid sporophyte and that sporophyte is differentiated into basal foot. So in this particular diagram or the image you can see here, foot is embedded inside. This is the seta and capsule, bulbous capsule is present. So here the sporophyte is differentiated into three parts here: basal, foot, elongated seta and the bulbous capsule. Some cells of capsule produce haploid spores after meiosis which germinate to produce haploid gametophyte. The sporophyte is not free living but attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte. Hence, bryophytes exhibit alternation of generation. So here the images of funaria. Again the same with the labelings is been shown. So this is about the general characters of bryophytes. Please remember the characters may be asked in the exam for 5 marks. So this is funaria, this is the sphagnum. So examples for bryophytes are, you can mention about Markentia, mention about funaria, sphagnum is there, Rixia is there. So these are the examples of the bryophytes, and those were the general characters. Coming to the economic importance of bryophytes. Bryophytes in general are of little economic importance, but some mosses provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds, and other animals. Species of sphagnum, which is a moss, provide peat that have long been used as fuel and as packaging material for transshipment of living material because of their capacity to hold water. So because of their capacity to hold water, they are used as a packaging material also. They are used as food. Secondly, they are used as fuel and also as packaging material. Mosses along with lichens are the first organisms to colonize rocks and hence are of great importance. They decompose rocks, making the substrate suitable for the growth of higher plants. Since mosses forms dense mats on the soil, they reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent soil erosion. So these were the, or these are the, this is nothing but it is economic importance of bryophytes or the uses of the bryophytes. The bryophytes are divided into liverworts and mosses. Liverworts. The liverworts grow usually in moist, shady habitats such as banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, bark of trees, and deep in the woods. The plant body of liverwort is thalloid. Example, Markentia. So in the earlier we have seen the Markentia. So this is the example for the liverwort. Here the plant body is thalloid. The leafy members have tiny leaf-like appendages in 2 rows on the stem-like structures. Asexual reproduction in liverworts takes place by the fragmentation of thalli or by the formation of specialized structures called gymme. Now these gymme are present on the surface of the bryophytes. Gymme are green, multicellular, asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called gymma cups located on the thalli. So on the thalli there are cup-like structures being present which are nothing but they are the asexual buds. So gymme, they are nothing but they are green, they are multicellular and they are asexual buds. Okay, they are located on the thalli of the bryophytes. The gymme become detached from the parent body and germinate to form new individuals. During sexual reproduction, male and female sex organs are produced either on same or different thalli. The sporophyte is differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. After meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule. These spores germinate to form free-living gametophytes. So in this way the cycle is repeated. So this was the information about the liverworts. Remember the example here is, remember the example of Markentia and you can remember the characters. So Markentia, the plant body here is called as thallus. Okay. Then remember about the presence of the gymma cups on the thalli. Okay, these gymme are green multicellular asexual buds they are, and these gymme get detached from the parent body and they can germinate and give rise to new individuals. Whereas during sexual reproduction male and the female sex organs are produced either on the same or different thalli. And here again, remember, sporophyte is differentiated into foot, seta, as we have seen in the previous slide. It is differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. So this was about the liverworts. Coming to the mosses. The predominant stage of the life cycle of moss is the gametophyte, which consists of two stages. The first stage is the proteinema stage, which develops directly from a spore. So the first stage is developing directly from the spore, and it is called as proteinema stage. It is creeping, green, branched and frequently filamentous. So it creeps and it is green, it is branching, and it is called as filamentous stage. So two stages are observed here. The first is proteinema stage and the next one is the filamentous stage. The second stage is the leafy stage, which develops from secondary proteinema as a lateral bud. They consist of upright, slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves. So leaves are arranged spirally here. They are attached to the soil through multicellular and branched rhizoids. So this we have discussed already. So rhizoids are present, which will function as that of the roots. So by means of rhizoids are attached to the substratum and the leaves are spirally arranged. This stage bears the sex organs. Vegetative reproduction in mosses is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary proteinema. In sexual reproduction, the sex organs antheridia and archegonia are produced at the apex of leafy shoots. After fertilization, the zygote develops into a sporophyte consisting of a foot, seta and capsule. The sporophyte in mosses is more elaborate than that in liverworts. The capsule contains spores. Spores are formed after meiosis. The mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. Common examples of mosses are Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum. So this was information about the mosses. Remember, two stages are present here, proteinema stage and the filamentous stage, where the second stage is leafy, which develops from secondary proteinema as a lateral bud. Leaves are spirally arranged and the plant body is attached to the substratum by means of rhizoids. Vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary proteinema, whereas during the sexual reproduction, the sex organs antheridia and archegonia are produced. After fertilization, zygote develops into sporophyte consisting of foot, seta and capsule. Okay, and then the sporophyte, here in the capsule it contains spores. Spores are formed after meiosis and the mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. So that was about the classification of bryophytes divided into liverworts and mosses. Coming to the next, pteridophytes. The pteridophytes include horsetails and ferns. Pteridophytes are used for medicinal purposes and as soil binders. Pteridium means fern, phyton means plant. Pteridophytes are known from as far back as 380 million years. Approximately 10,500 species of pteridophytes are known. These pteridophytes are found growing in moist, cool and shady places. Pteridophytes are the first group of vascular plants with conducting tissues, namely xylem and phloem. As they are vascular but do not produce flowers, fruit and seeds, they are called vascular cryptogams. So they are also called as vascular cryptogams because they do not produce flowers, fruits and seeds. Besides, they are having the vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. They are also frequently known as ornamentals. Evolutionarily, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues, xylem and phloem, and they're found in the cool, damp, shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. In pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte, whereas in the bryophytes it was the gametophyte. Now here it is the sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. These organs possess well differentiated vascular tissues. The leaves in pteridophytes are small, as in Selaginella, or large, as in ferns. The sporophyte bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. In some cases, sporophylls may form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. The sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. The spores germinate to give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte called prothallus. So it is producing spores, will produce a thalloid gametophyte called as prothallus. These gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. Because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. The gametophytes bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia respectively. Water is required for transfer of anthrozoids. Anthrozoids are the male gametes which are released from antheridia to the mouth of archegonium, which is the female. Fusion of male gamete with the egg present in the archegonium result in the formation of zygote. Zygote thereafter produces a multicellular, well-differentiated sporophyte, which is dominant phase of pteridophytes. In majority of pteridophytes, all the spores are of similar kinds. So the spores are similar. Such plants are called as homosporous. Homo means same. So same type of spores are produced, and because of which they are called as homosporous. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia, which produce two kinds of spores, macro, that is large, and micro, that is small spores, and they are known as heterosporous. So some are heterosporous and maximum are homosporous. The megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. The female gametophytes in these plants are retained on the parent sporophytes for variable periods. The development of zygote into young embryos take place within the female gametophytes. This event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered as an important step in evolution. So these were the characters of pteridophytes. Please remember, any character of bryophytes, algae or pteridophytes may be asked for 5 marks. So please remember the general characters of each one of them. Pteridophytes are further classified into 4 classes. Psilopsida, example is Xylotum. Lycopsida, example Selaginella or Lycopodium. Spinopsida, example Equisetum. And Pteropsida, example Dryopteris, or you can write as Adiantum, or Pteris is the example. So these were the general characters of pteridophytes and the classification of pteridophytes. So here in the photograph you can see, or in the image you can see. Now here in the general characters I have not mentioned about this kind of structure. So here in pteridophytes, the young leaves get coiled in the form of wort spring, and which is called as circinate vernation, a very very important character of pteridophytes. So young leaves gets coiled in the form of wat spring, and it is called as circinate vernation. So this is the Dryopteris being shown here, Selaginella, and here you can see beneath there are presence of sporangia at the margin are being shown. Okay, and then this is equisitum. So these are the examples of pteridophytes. Today we will stop here, and in the next class we will study about the next part of the chapter. And coming to the let me just tell you about the economic importance of pteridophytes. Economically, many pteridophytes like Selaginella, Nephrolepis, Adiantum are grown as ornamental. Mainly they are ornamental plants in gardens. Ferns like Dryopteris are used in medicine. Some pteridophytes are grown as soil binders. Okay, so that was about the pteridophytes. In the next class, we will study about gymnosperms. Then its classification we will study in the next class. For today, we'll end up here. Thank you.